No, does anyone ever call you Callum?
Not any gamers, no.
Does your mom call you Callum?
Yeah.
Does she call you Cal?
My sister does, but otherwise no.
When your mother's very angry, how does she refer to you as?
God damn it, Callum.
That's very important to know. Thank you. All right.
I call him Callum in private, if that counts.
That's naughty. Let's not go there quite yet.
I'm so done.
Can't stop the train, baby. Woo!
I'd like to welcome you to the 41st round of VV Gaming's The Losers Bracket. Got a great show in store for you today. Like normal, this week we're going to be previewing the upcoming MLG Dallas event. We've got tons of Halo coverage. We'll be having IceVayne, Fletch, zLogic as well. Tons of people on the show. Let's get right to it.
First things first, Jason, welcome back. I know you've had a lot of traveling, and we're just happy to have you back on the show again.
Oh, thank you very much. It's great to be back. I'll talk a little bit about my experiences later on in the show. Make sure to stay tuned for that.
All right, well, let's go ahead and start off with the last event for Halo 3 Nationals. 8 teams go in. 1 team comes out as the last national champion for Halo 3. Adam, who do you think has been practicing the most leading up into Nationals?
I would probably say Final Boss. I mean, the best thing they can do right now is they want to go out as a 3P champion and win Nationals again for Ogre 2.
Yeah, all the top 4 teams, I would say, have been practicing the most with Instinct, Final Boss, Triggers Down, and Status Quo. They have the top 4 seeds right now, and they just attended a 6-team LAN with Believe the Hype and Carbon this past weekend, in which Kyle would know most about that since he was there the whole weekend, so we could pass it off to him.
The Sunday tournament amongst the 6 teams there, Status Quo came out on top. They were on fire the entire tournament. Instinct coming in second. It was a very good LAN overall for, I think, everyone.
Now, Kyle, you've got some really good insight into what went on at the LAN network this weekend. If you're going to make your predictions for Dallas, what I want to know more than anything, right, will Status Quo ride this wave all the way to Dallas?
If they play this weekend like they were during that tournament, I think they could take it. Final Boss wasn't doing very well. All the other teams, they weren't playing to the best of their ability, but I think Status Quo definitely showed that they can really take down almost any team there. So I think they'll have a very good showing at Dallas, whether they take first or top 3. They need to break that top 4 curse they have going on for them for most of the season.
For people who are watching the streams that they could catch, you actually being there, what, in your opinion, is the difference between the play there at the LAN network and what you've seen on the circuit as far as at actual pro circuit events?
Well, most people who attend those LANs, if they lose, they tend to call the winners basement players or basement warriors, whatever you want to call them. But some players just don't play well in that situation. Some people play well under pressure, and some people don't. So I think the pressure might get to Status Quo when they're at the actual event. We'll just have to see how that goes for them.
Well, Kyle, you bring up an interesting point about pressure. Looking at the Dallas event, give us your predictions.
I think it'll come down to Final Boss and Instinct in the finals. I think Status Quo will come in third, and I think it's a toss-up between fourth. We didn't get to see every team in the top 8 play. Dynasty and Warriors have been known to upset a couple of teams. I think Triggers Down will snag the 4th spot, but it's really just how it all goes down.
All right, Adam, what do you think?
I got Final Boss winning the national championships, being the 3-peat. Triggers Down is going to come back, get 2nd place again. 3rd place going to be Status Quo, and 4th place is going to be Instinct.
Not a surprise there. And what about you, Ray?
I'm also going to put Final Boss as winning the event. It seems like they're always playing the best come tournament time, regardless of LAN scores or online practice. And then I'm going to put Triggers Down in the finals with them. And I'm going to go a little outside the box, and I'm going to say SQ is going to break their 4th place curse and take 3rd. I can see Warriors pulling an upset or 2 to take 4th.
I think anybody who was at MLG DC is absolutely going to say Final Boss definitely going to be in the top 2. I don't think anyone's going to argue about that. But I noticed that, Kyle, you said Triggers Down maybe 4th. Everybody else seemed a lot more confident about where Triggers Down is going to place. Let's talk about Triggers Down in a little bit more detail. Kyle, why do you think they won't make top 2?
Well, they were doing very well against most of the teams at the LAN, but it's at the LAN. They've been known to do very well at the pre-event LAN, but come tournament time, they're a little shaky. They've still been placing very well, but I don't know how well they'll be able to play at the tournament.
From my experience in playing Triggers Down in DC, I think they got away from just doing good at the LANs and bringing that to the events. They were absolutely on fire, and I think they found their niche and their groove at the events to get in that role like they do at the LANs.
I agree with Adam. I think they found their best lineup yet with the 4 of them. Even though Tots isn't like a huge slaying force, he seems like he does all the dirty work they need. And even though they did get, I believe, 6-1'd by Final Boss in the finals in DC, I think they'll put up a better fight against Final Boss, but I don't see them winning. I can see like a 6-5 or like 6-4 maybe.
All right. Well, we're going to find out here shortly who is going to win the last ever, the grand goodbye to Halo 3, which brings us to Halo Reach. We are joined by VVV Fletch from VVV Skyline. Fletch, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
The second time now that Halo Reach will be played at a LAN event. This one obviously will be significantly larger than what we saw at DC. You and Skyline will be there. Let's first talk about after DC. So DC gets done. Were you surprised by the results at MLG DC? Let's start there.
Yeah and no. I was expecting Victoria's Secret to take it all. I was a little bit surprised that a completely misjumbled, absolute random team showed up and took it. Actually, really good friends with Lethal, and I'm actually really proud of them. Like their play, they've stuck together. Well, they didn't stick together. They picked up Amish Acorns and Adrenaline, and so now it's Blaze, Lethal, and then those two, and they are dominating almost everybody they play. And I mean, it's really good to see new faces taking pride in like being the best. I was a little upset with how some of the teams showed up and played. A lot of the teams that I personally feel don't deserve to be placing as high as they did placed, but then again, there was a lot of lack of competition, in my personal opinion, at DC.
That's what people say when they're not there, though.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, if we were there, we may have done amazingly well. We may have not. I personally like to think we would have done well. But from an outsider's perspective, a little bit upset with who showed up to play and who didn't. But, I mean, it's the first game combine. You can't really expect it to be an unbelievable tournament.
No, I think we're going to see a lot of shift. And I mean, to be honest, obviously we're going to have a whole influx of top talent now that's not going to be playing Halo 3 anymore. Obviously, VV Ambush is going to be there, who has, I do believe, Adam, you have the 4th seed, correct?
Correct.
All right, so let's start with VV Skyline, Fletch. I want to hear from you because I've been watching the Twitter, talk to Fallout. I know you guys have been practicing a lot. Tell me about how you guys have prepared for MLG Dallas.
A lot of players will essentially say theater, gameplay, watch a theater, discuss things as a team. With the theater lobby as it is, it makes that really difficult. So what we've been primarily doing is scrimming. We've been on since day one. We've played through all the settings, all the game types so far. We get on every day. We scrim for a good 5.5 to 6.5 hours. And then usually everyone will, we'll team up. It'll kind of be like me and Hype, or me and Fallout, or me and Parker will critique each other's gameplay. It's so hard to do with the whole team because everyone's got to watch it from their own lobbies. So we kind of just split up into twos and just go over things 3 or 4 minutes after each game, critiquing like what we did wrong, what we got to work on.
Now that there's going to be all the influx of Halo 3 pro players that obviously did not make the top 8 to go into the national champions for Halo 3, have you been able to scrim any of them? Have they scrimmed anybody that you know about? Are they going to just be one big wild card factor?
I don't know. I'm not too worried about them. I've heard Straight Sick, for example, on your team, Adam, is amazing from what I've been told. But most of the pros, not too worried about. Empire, they're the pros that have been practicing the most, and I personally don't think they're that big of a threat. And I've been told that Heaven and Earth, Perfect Storm, and all those kind of teams, they're good, but they're easily beatable, as is everybody at this tournament, because it's a new game. You don't know what to expect. The only pro teams we've been able to scrim, though, really are Empire and Darkest Hour, and I don't know if you consider Sicker Than Your Average more or less Combine champions, but we've been playing them a lot. And what we really come down to is every team at this tournament is 100% beatable. Names in Halo 3 don't mean anything in this game. This is a completely different game, and it's really just going to come down to what I think is there's probably a core of 20 teams who have the utmost potential to place unbelievably well, but what it's going to come down to is who worked the hardest and who's on fire that weekend.
All right, well, that's the Skyline perspective for right now. Hold that thought, because, Adam, I want you to bring in how is Ambush preparing for this, and how do you feel that the other Halo 3 pros that are now transitioning into Halo Reach, how do you think they're going to do?
Personally, for us, Ambush, we've just been scrimming as much as we can, getting in a couple game battle matches here and there. It's obviously really hard, like Callum Fletch said. With theater, you can't really review on the mistakes you did in-game unless everybody goes in a party chat and watches it and counts 3 and go. So we were just basically roughly judging our mistakes in-game and out-of-game. We've worked on quite a few of our mistakes that we made as a team from DC and improved on quite a few of those areas. As for other Halo 3 players, pro players, Ares has been on the game every day from what I've seen and always scrimming Skyline. We scrimmed Heaven and Earth in a game last night, and then they left. I personally wasn't impressed at all by Cypher. He's probably the worst player on their team and probably will get dropped as soon as the event's over. Of course, everybody's scared of Perfect Storm with the Legit and Nated combo. Of course, Nated will probably be one of the best players in this game since it's got a little bit like a Halo 2 vibe. Past that, I've been playing against a couple other Halo 3 pros like Darkest Hour members and Gunshot and Batman. Everybody seems like they're on the same level. It's just all going to come down to who has better starting strats, better teamwork, communication when it comes down to the event.
All right. This is going to now go over to you, Ray, and let's talk about DTF. I know it's you, it's Rush's, Acorns there, Touch My Acorns, and then Theo. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And how are you guys preparing, and how do you think you're going to do?
It's been kind of hard for us the past couple of days just because of the schedules. Myself and Acorns have both been working a lot, trying to just get enough money to afford the event since the last DC was around 2.5 weeks ago. We've just been trying to play late night, get whatever teams we can find online to just play against them, get games in before the event.
So looking at this right now, Adam, obviously, VV Ambush, you guys have the 4th seed. You're feeling confident. I know for you, Fletch, you guys obviously have combine points. So I think you guys have like 590 points. And I know for you, zLogic, you stopped coaching. You've come back into playing. And I think DTF, you guys have pro circuit points. Is that right?
Yeah, Rushes has 6 pro circuit points. And with his points, we should have around the 39th, 40 seed. And we're waiting for our team viewer to actually show what seed we have. For some reason, it hasn't showed up yet, but we should be somewhere in that range.
Let's make some predictions, shall we? Kyle, you're the kind of person who's been standing back, looking at all of this. You've been seeing a lot of Halo 3 this weekend, but I know before that you've been watching Reach. Any predictions?
It's really hard to say. It's like Callum said, Fletch mentioned that, every team is beatable. It's just about who has, the better tournament. A lot of pro teams, everyone thinks they're going to do very well. It's possible, but there's a lot of teams that are unknown that could come in and just take everyone out. So it's really hard to predict. I personally have no predictions other than a few teams placing top 16. I know Skyline and Ambush are going to do very well. That's all I have going for me right now.
Honestly, I don't see too many of the pros getting upset right away because a lot of these players, like the people with no points and combine points, are going to have to play a lot more matches, which might help them in the long run. But I think they'll be more prepared and be ready for full screen. That's when Sanctuary comes into play, and once that map comes into play, it's pretty much a whole different story because a lot of people who are going through split screen are not practicing that as much because not until they get out of split screen do they need to even worry about it. I mean, honestly, I can't really make too many predictions because it's like still a new game, and I don't see too many upsets happening, but I'm just going to go probably say Ambush will do really well, and I think Skyline will do well, and I hope DTF does well, but I can't really say anything because I haven't never seen them play.
You know, when I looked at this, several podcast shows back when Spikemouth was still here, we talked about how the seeding in Dallas was going to work, how the Halo 3 event points worked, how the online points worked, and, how the Combine points fit into all of this. At the end of the day, it ends up being sort of a very messy seeding situation. Does anybody here feel that the seeding points are going to matter that much? Do you think that having a higher seed is going to be the same kind of advantage it would be in Halo 3? Or do you think it's more or less important?
Well, it depends on, do we know how they're doing the brackets? Are they doing championship bracket? Or is it everyone playing in one bracket?
I'm 90% sure everybody's playing through the same bracket, and
Okay.
then it's just whoever makes it out into the top 32 will play in the championship bracket.
Then, that being said, honestly, I don't think seed's going to matter. Obviously, the lower seeded teams are, they're going to have to do a lot of work to get through to the top 32, but if, one big upset, you can ride that momentum all the way to top 32 easy.
Wise with upsets as well. I think in the first 4 rounds, even with being a higher seed, a lot of these teams have never played split screen at all. And it's also going to just be 5 game types. A lot, obviously, with Halo 2 pros and Halo 3 pros are naturally very good at Sanctuary. Like, our team, that's one of our best maps. So our weaker game types actually come into that split screen round, so we need to focus ourselves on more split screen and making sure we're solid in all those game types so we don't oversee a team and then get blindsided by them and get upset and knocked in early losers.
No, that's understandable. And what do you think, Ray?
I don't see the seeds mattering that much because the top pros have higher seeds, but most of them have only been playing the game for 2 weeks, whereas a lot of teams have been playing since the game came out. But the one thing that the pro teams do have to their advantage is that I believe that most teams will sit down and say, oh crap, we're playing Nated, Legit, Karma, Killer Drew, and they might not play up to their A game just because they're playing nervous or playing scared,
Well, that's interesting you bring that up because, I know that Fletch mentioned earlier that at least for Skyline, they're not really, or at least they don't feel that they're seeing names and reputations.
I'm actually kind of excited coming from the other end of the spectrum because a lot of these teams, especially in the top 7 or 8, they've been playing Halo 3 so much recently, they haven't really, we have the 2 months of time to practice advantage over them. Although it's different settings, we have more time to practice the DMR, just all the physics of the game, which should help us. But I'm actually really kind of excited to be on the low end of the spectrum because names don't matter, in my opinion, and none of us are worried about who we play. And with our seed, we will end up playing good teams in Winners 3. Winners 3, we should be expecting to see teams that you expect to see in the championship bracket at a regular Halo 3 event. We're convinced, with most of the teams that we've been playing, we've either been splitting games or we've been taking games, we're losing by 1 or 2. We're at the same level of these guys that you'd expect to be winning this event. If we take that win, we can ride that momentum all the way through. We'll have crowd hype, we'll be hyped. Hopefully it'll just all flow into place for us and just ride the storm.
I think one thing's for sure, and that is that everybody is pumped and excited for Reach. A lot of people are going to be looking forward to a conclusion for Halo 3. And I don't want to say this while Halo 3 is still being played, but doesn't it seem obvious that Halo Reach is that much better of a game?
By far.
I just want to make sure, I don't want to go through everybody, but you all agree, right, that Halo Reach is a far better game than Halo 3, correct?
I don't know how I played Halo 3 all these years.
I agree completely.
I disagree.
You think Halo 3 is better?
I personally, I like Reach. It's fun. And I'm sure it will be a lot more fun and better once the actual settings have come out. But with the settings that they are now and the maps that we're playing right now, in my opinion, the maps are boring. The maps are bland. They don't play how they should. Like Reflection, for example, does not feel like Ivory Tower from Halo 2. It just doesn't flow, in my opinion, as much. As of now, I preferred Halo 3.
I have to agree with Fletch. I think the maps are a little bad. I say a lot of bad, very bad. I think if Halo 3 maps weren't somehow just switched all the way over into Reach gameplay, I think the game would be a lot better to play competitively. It's just the maps really ruin the game for many people. And they do have a map pack coming out at the end of November, which I'm pretty sure only one of the maps is going to be possible for competitive play, the other two maps being big team battle-oriented maps. But even videos and pictures of the newer map, I forgot the name, I think it's Anchor 9, it still doesn't look very good. So we have to hope for better forged maps to come out and hopefully more map packs to make the game better.
I do agree that Halo Reach overall is a better game. One thing that I was really surprised that MLG did was instead of just making 11 game types with just like throwing in maps like Sword Base and stuff like that, they just kept it to 4 maps, 7 game types, the most solid 7 game types that they could make at the time, instead of just throwing in extra stuff to make it fun for right now. And then eventually when there's, more maps, just like Halo 3 in the beginning, there was some sketchy game types in there with like Pit King of the Hill and stuff like that. And eventually, more maps came out. They came out with Midship, was the most recent addition to Halo 3 that made it into the circuit. And it'll be interesting to see like a year from now, see what maps they come out with, what game types we'll see on the circuit.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thank you for all that input on Halo Reach. A lot of people are going to be paying attention as this is going to set up a long off season.
One of my favorite things that MLG has done in years has been the addition of StarCraft 2 to their Pro Circuit League. And let me tell you what, it's been exciting to watch. The crowds have been into it. It's been great. So this coming event in Dallas, we've got quite a bit of shakeup, I guess you could say, since Idra won't be at the event. Who do you think is going to take this event, guys? What do you think?
I don't know. Is everybody expecting a Huck Kiwakaki showdown? Is that what we're expecting?
If not, Huck and Kiwakaki Select can be thrown in there. That's going to be the top 3 in no particular order. Huck, Kiwakaki, Select, top 3.
So you don't think that maybe we'll get Drewby or Slush or somebody to come up there, QXC, any of those?
I don't believe that they have what it takes to get to that top 3, but, I mean, anything's possible, It's a whole nother event being at the place. Who knows? Now Idra's not there. Maybe fans can stand right behind players and actually...
No, I wouldn't go that far.
I do think that Huck and Kiwakaki probably have the best bet of being in the finals for this event. Huck is still showing some really great gameplay, although he hasn't really had the top tournament placings as of late in the past couple of events that he has been in. So we'll see what happens. I'm definitely looking forward to watching the results of this. And who knows, maybe we'll see one of those crazy upsets that nobody saw coming. That would be really exciting. Let's hope we do.
Well, you can hope, but in the long run, I think it's going to be Huck, Select, and Kiwakaki.
Well, I happen to be a big fan of Huck, so I really hope that, at the end of the day, we see Huck taking it, because I think at the end of the day, he's exciting. He upsets Idra. So, all those things are good. And what I mean by upsets is he makes Idra angry and call him an idiot.
That's the best kind of upset.
Hell yeah.
I personally would like to see Huck take first place with Mothership Rush to end the game. I would love to see that, just to see how Idra would respond to that, or if he would even.
Say the same thing. Say that he's turning it into WWE. Shouldn't have done it. Idra's not known for open-mindedness and changing his opinion on something. So, but there's hope he'll change. I wouldn't bet on it though.
Speaking of a little bit of change, we're going to definitely have a little bit of change in regards to Smash Brothers at this next event. As we talked about last week, Mewtwo King and ADHD are not going to be able to play at this event, so we're guaranteed a new winner for Smash Brothers. Do you guys have any predictions?
Yeah, that's a tough one. To be honest, when it comes to Brawl, I don't know. I'm really taking a huge step back looking at what happened. I was really disappointed, as I said before. I spoke pretty openly in my rant about, how I felt about what happened both in DC and then at MGC. There are some great brawlers. Even without Mewtwo King, Ally, Lee Martin, Tyrant, Nick Riddle, all these people are great players. So I don't think that Brawl really is going to be less exciting. If anything, without Mewtwo King, it probably is going to be more exciting. There's more potential. There's more money on the line. So as an actual event, I predict the Brawl to be very exciting. It's a lot more open with Mewtwo King not in the event. And I think for a lot of people, it's just going to be that much exciting. I tell you who I want to see break into the top 4 is I'd love to see Havoc continue his rise, and I think that would be awesome.
I agree completely. I think actually Havoc might get third this event, and I feel that Rich Brown and Lee Martin are going to be fighting for first.
I could definitely see that. Call me an optimist here, and this is just something I would like to see. But I really want to see Cheese place well because, man, it'd be great to see the drama that the Brawlers would cause. Maybe that's just a little bit of me wearing a troll face here, but, man, I'm rooting for Cheese in this event.
Actually, I think he might do well if he wears a hat, because then they can't do the "Where's your hat" chant.
You think that'll catapult him up into the top 8? Is that what you're saying?
I swear, if he wears a hat, he will get top 16 for sure and make pro.
Let's not forget, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is going to be at the event, played on the PlayStation 3. I don't know. I think that there's a good chance that we're going to see a lot of surprises. The game's been online, Envious, Optic, Extravagant, Influence, AOX, right? All these teams, VWS, they've been playing online, without question. You could say that people have their favorites. Envious ended strong. I think Influence has been really consistent. But again, we're moving from the online world to a LAN setting. I suspect we're going to have a lot of surprises.
Sure, but I'm not so sure anyone actually cares to talk about Modern Warfare 2. I know I don't.
Even when you say that, here's my prediction. If you followed MLG Sundance's tweets, he said to the Call of Duty community, he sort of put out a choice there. Either A, Black Ops on the PS3, or B, not at all. And at the end of the day, I think the reality here that everyone's going to have to sort of walk into is that, and I don't know if everybody realizes this, but I want to take a quick step back, and I want to sort of explain how games are made, because I think that's really important. You understand what happens and what doesn't happen in regards to what a developer can do. Activision, which is the publisher, they're the ones that own Call of Duty, right? They own it. And they give it to developers like Infinity Ward, like Treyarch, to make versions of the game. Call of Duty Vanilla, Call of Duty Chocolate, Call of Duty Strawberry, Call of Duty fucking Rudy Tooty Fruity. That's what they do, right? They give them flavors. But they don't give them the keys to the car. And what that means is you're still working on the same basic engine, and you're only allowed to deviate so far. In other words, it's still got to be ice cream at the end of the day. So all the legacy problems that the 360 has had to this date, Activision didn't give Treyarch the keys to the car so they could change it. When Sundance sort of let everybody know this, the Call of Duty community is like, oh, you screwed us over. If you're a Call of Duty player, the first thing you need is an education. Major League Gaming has no say-so on how Activision runs its business, just so you know. Activision is a multi-billion-dollar company. Major League Gaming doesn't even come on the radar screen. That's the first thing. The second thing that is important, and I mean really important, is that everybody understands that if you are a fan of Call of Duty, buy a PlayStation 3. Go out there, get a PlayStation 3, and you can play it. If you are too poor to get a PlayStation 3, then relax. Make sure you've got a good internet connection. You can watch it stream live. So if you are a fan of competitive gaming and you like the Call of Duty series, hear my voice. Either A, on the PlayStation 3, or B, not at all. And let me add one more thing. To all of you who don't, if it's not going to be on a 360, fuck that shit. You know what? You're a little fucking pissant motherfucker. That's exactly what you are. I think that's actually a technical term. Pissant motherfucker. Because if anything's good for Major League Gaming, it's to continue to build relationships with Sony, with Activision, who is, by the way, Blizzard Activision. They are one company. Although let there be no mistake, Activision is no Blizzard. For those of you that know anything about business, Blizzard knows how to take care of its partners. Activision just knows how to gobble them up and then make fucking Rudy Tooty, vanilla, chocolate, and strawberry ice cream like they've done to the Call of Duty series. Because you know what? You motherfuckers will buy it. I will probably own Call of Duty on both the PlayStation 3 and the 360. Why? I'm going to tell you why. Because one, I sadly pre-ordered it, and I might as well now get it on the 360. Two, I've been wanting an excuse to get a PlayStation 3 for a long time. And you know what? I've had a 360 for a long time. PlayStation 3 sales are starting to increase. Now it's time for me to look at a PlayStation 3. And who knows? It's a whole new community of gamers to reach out to. So to all of you who play Call of Duty on the 360, I'm sorry. Sorry to hear. But when it comes down to what Major League Gaming should do, it seems a no-brainer to me. Take Call of Duty Black Ops, put it on the PlayStation 3. Let's get some games. Let's go.
I mean, if they have the systems and, you know, obviously, like you said, it's either PS3 or none at all. For the people who actually want to see Call of Duty, start playing PS3 if you actually want to play it, and quit complaining. Just get used to it. It's something different. Oh no, adapt.
Personally, I say this makes perfect sense, especially if Tekken 6 isn't going to make a return to the circuit next year. They've already got some PS3s that can be used for this. If the settings are going to be better for PS3 server-wise, things of that nature, yeah, it makes complete sense.
I'm with the Call of Duty community. I've never really been in jet with the community for Call of Duty, but I feel that my personal opinion is I would rather have another online circuit game than have to go out and buy a whole new system just to play a game. I know the Call of Duty community is really unhappy with the point of having to buy a system.
Just to be clear, the Call of Duty 360 community.
360, yes.
Well, sure they're going to be unhappy because they don't want to buy another console, like you said. So,
but that is also
they're biased. It doesn't even matter, right?
That's a two-way street because if the MLG PS3 community were asked to buy a 360 for Black Ops, I'm sure they wouldn't be pleased about it either.
So let me get this straight. We should not have Call of Duty on the pro circuit because 360 players don't want to buy PlayStation 3.
No, not necessarily. The 360 community is a lot larger than the PlayStation community as well for the Call of Duty. What I think MLG needs to do is keep playing with the larger community rather than switching it over to a smaller community where essentially they have a lot of potential to lose a lot of players and potentially downgrade into a smaller community.
See, I don't see it that way. I see it as the people that love Call of Duty will play it wherever they want to play it because they love competition. The bad kids, I mean, most of these kids are bad anyway, let's face facts. They're going to sit and cry, oh my God, I can't play it. I'm done. I'm going to break my disc. I'm going to go play something else. Look, you sucked at fucking Halo 3. You sucked at Gears of War. Now you suck at Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, but you're always on the forums fucking complaining. Who really fucking cares? Put it on the PlayStation 3. Sony will probably give them the rights to stream it. They already have the rights to stream WoW and other games. If there is a game that belongs online, it's WoW. WoW definitely next year, I hope to God, goes online. There is no reason WoW should be at any LAN event ever again in the history of LAN events. Leave it online.
That's agreed on, but I mean, at the same time, currently there's Call of Duty for PlayStation 3 on Game Battles, and there's a 360 Game Battles, and Game Battles is obviously where 99% of the competitive Call of Duty is played, and I think that even if they were to transition over to the PlayStation 3, I don't think that so many teams are going to be transitioning over because I still think there's going to be online tournaments on the 360 through Game Battles for this game. I think the 360 community will stay at large through Game Battles with this game. I just personally don't think it's a smart, logical move for MLG.
Okay, what I don't understand, where I don't see the logic is, why does having LAN for PlayStation 3 matter? They can have online for 360, which is fine, and those who want to stay playing it online can, but those who want to play Call of Duty at LAN go to the PlayStation 3. I don't see why that's a problem. Why wouldn't you do that?
Personally, I wouldn't want to have to buy a system to play it for a weekend. I'm personally, I don't even like the PlayStation, so I mean, you could say coming from a biased perspective, but I personally think the 360 in general is a better system as a whole, and I wouldn't want to have to go out and buy a PlayStation.
But Fletch, do you see the problem with your argument? In the case of Call of Duty on the LAN, which what we're talking about is the 360 is clearly not the better console because it doesn't work. So yes, I think if we were just talking about which one is better, and if we could wave a magic wand and let Activision allow Treyarch to develop the game instead of making them do Call of Duty Rudy Tooty Fruity, then yes, I absolutely would agree with you. But since that's not an option, then the choices left are either don't have it on LAN or do it on the PlayStation 3. Do you see why, like, it would be better to have PlayStation 3 Call of Duty than to not have nothing, don't you think?
Nah. I think a lot of the community would rather keep it as an online community. All the tournaments online, I think even the nationals are on a closed circuit, but I think that the community at large would rather stay online rather than have to spend, $300 for a PlayStation 3, shell out money for the Team Pass, and then shell out even more money for...
Fletch, there's one other problem with your story.
Sure.
This weekend,
yeah,
as we sort of like get ready for this big event for Modern Warfare 2, right?
Yep.
What's it being played on?
PlayStation.
So if the whole community if 8 teams are spending money out of their own pocket, I'm guessing they all own a PlayStation, don't you think?
Well, essentially that's only the pro teams. You've got to look at it, or at least from a business perspective, you've got to look at it from the larger scale. I can understand the whole playing it on LAN. I mean, I would rather play any game on LAN. It's a lot better. It's a lot smoother. But you've got to look at it as a lot of these teams aren't going to go out and buy a PS3 so they can play at a LAN event where they could play at home online and not have to spend $300 more just for the system.
No one's disagreeing that they have to go and buy one. But the point at the end of the day is, there's that old Aesop's fable about the wolf and the grapes, and the wolf kept jumping to get the grapes and he couldn't get them. And then he was like, oh, those grapes must be rotten, and he walked away. There's a reason that fable is there. And don't get me wrong, what you said is a brilliant American teenage perspective. If I can't take advantage of it, or if it doesn't help me, it's shit. And I totally understand that, right? Like, that's the modern teenage perspective. Well, if I can't play it on my console, then fuck it, I don't. And that's cool. That's totally understandable. I wouldn't expect any better. But where you kind of cross the line in your argument is when you said, oh, you have to kind of look at this from a business perspective. As if Major League Gaming, or as if I don't look at it from a business perspective, like, oh, we forgot, right? No, actually, this is a good business argument, because what it does is it brings the Major League Gaming brand to a whole different audience. It allows it to really open up on the PlayStation. It allows Major League Gaming to develop a deeper relationship with Sony. Because you may not realize this, the world is not static. Time doesn't stop. What may suck today may not suck tomorrow. It is a great opportunity for Major League Gaming to develop a deeper relationship with Sony, who will continue to make many games and continue to stay in this space. So the online 360 community can remain online. No one says they can't have that. But you certainly don't want to say, oh, we are the larger community, and if we can't get it, then there's no way the PlayStation 3 community should have it. It doesn't work that way. It's sad, but the people that the 360 community should be bitching to is Activision. But you know what? They won't. You want to know why? Because they're going to go out, buy the game, sit on their fat ass, and fucking cry that it's not on the fucking 360. And you know who wins? Activision. They laughing all the way to the bank. In a matter of fact, I hope somebody has got a picture of fucking Fear Moho's fat ass, and they throw darts at it going, that motherfucking pig is certainly going to buy our game. And then he's going to sit there and bitch about it and blame Major League Gaming. That's what's going to happen. And where our job comes in, right, where our job comes in is to be absolutely sure that we don't restrict where the Major League Gaming brand goes.
So, Jason, you just came back from Korea. Tell us about your trip over to Korea.
Of course. Let me tell you guys something, and this isn't to play on my name here. Korea is a gamer's paradise. The culture over there is absolutely incredible. VV Mix and I went over there for the IeSF Grand Finals. That's the International Esports Federation. He was playing FIFA Online 2, which is a competitive version of FIFA 07. Remade, a couple extra features, things of that nature. Also, Warcraft 3 was played as well. The number one player from America, Phil Longwalk Crawford, was there with us. Also, another title on the side was AVA, Alliance of Valiant Arms. There were 3 teams in the world that competed in that, Korea, Japan, and America. That was a very entertaining event as well. Overall, the event was highly, highly marketed. The whole thing was done live on TV in Korea, which I thought was really interesting. Banners all around the city of Daegu. The entire convention center was dedicated to this event. A huge eFun convention was being held in the same hall. So with all these demos of like the PlayStation Move, different games, really cool. The one thing that was really lacking from this event was organization. I've got to give it to them. The IeSF really had a lot that they did for their first real major event. Over 30 countries, over 300 players from around the world. Very impressive. But some things were really lacking in the organization department.
So, Jason, tell me about how IeSF was sort of run, the actual event. Because I know in the beginning that Mix didn't get the game. I think there were some things that actually made competition difficult.
Correct. The format for the tournament was a little bit odd. It was a single elimination bracket. All the seeds were drawn randomly. There was no skill factor put into this. Some people got random buys in the first round. And then, of course, what you just touched on, that was a really big thing as well, a really big factor. FIFA Online 2 is currently not even available at some places in the world, so it made training for the game rather difficult. While it is similar to FIFA 07, like I mentioned before, it isn't the exact same game. While some of the bugs are the same, some of the tricks that you might use in the game, it isn't the exact same game. So Mix and the other American player, whose name is Cregan BG, they were not able to train effectively for this game, and as a result, they were both eliminated in their very first match. Kind of hard for us to prepare for a tournament when we can't even play the game, you know what I mean?
That does cause quite a problem. So, what do you think they can do better for the next time they run the event?
Well, the very first thing has to be what I mentioned before, the organization. And like I said before, they did really big things for this. I think they honestly just got a little bit overzealous with how big the event was. The organization really suffered because of this. We were getting emails rather late, really long response time in regards to questions. Communication was a huge issue. Like the hotel we were staying at, we would actually have messages posted up on the wall, like taped up on a wall. Sometimes we wouldn't even see these messages until after they were relevant. For example, on our last day in the city, we were going out to go check out the city on our own because, we had a little bit of downtime, so we were going to go see a little bit of what Daegu had to offer. On the way down the elevator, there was a message that said if we wanted to, there was going to be a tour bus to take us around the city for 4 hours that we could go on for free. Of course, we saw this message 2 hours too late because no one was communicating the fact that that was going on. This happened for the entirety of the trip. So, I don't know. That seems like something that they really need to work on in the future. And I think they're going to, because towards the end, they started asking all the players what they could do better in the future. And as some people have pointed out to me earlier in this trip, WCG did start out pretty much the exact same way when they first started 10 years ago. So do I think that there's potential for the IeSF? Most definitely. They had a very large event that they ran to the best of their ability for their first year. I do think it can only get better from here. There's a lot of funding going on behind this. With how much they're putting into this organization, I do think that the future of the IeSF looks bright. Fingers crossed we can see an improved event in the future.
So, you went over there as a media person. Bring us through what you actually did when you were at the event.
Sure thing. I was going around taking pictures, videos, trying to get the intimate moments where the players were in matches captured on film so that I can share those with the world. Those pictures are up on the VVV gallery. Please feel free to go check those out. In addition, make sure to check out my blog very soon on the VVV Gaming Forum. That will be up very shortly. I'll have the entire event recapped.
Well, you said before that you had some downtime on your last day. Did you get a chance to hang out with any other players, media members? Did you meet anybody else besides the aforementioned American players?
Most definitely. I've got to give a shout out to some of the other media and players that were there at the event, specifically some from the Netherlands, a guy named Dennis Mons that I met, other media coverage. He was absolutely awesome, really cool guy. Some of the other players from other countries that I got to sit down and talk with, it would be absolutely impossible for me to list them all here, but absolutely great conversations across the board. I really am proud of what esports is going towards with all these players in the field. It seems like everyone kind of has their head screwed on straight, except for a few bad apples that were here and there through the crowd. I'm not going to mention names because I don't want to stir up any sort of needless drama, but I'll tell you what, man. People get rather touchy.
Oh, Jason.
Oh, no, you're not getting me to do this. Nope.
I want the needless drama.
Not happening.
Just one?
Jason, please.
Oh, man. All right.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll do it. You've convinced me.
I can let go of your arm now. Continue.
So, here's probably my one needless thing that happened while I was there. We're on the bus about to head back to the airport. I'm posting up a status on my Facebook, or I'm trying to at least, that says, I'm really surprised at how unorganized that some of the things at this event have been. And I hear this female voice from behind me going, you shouldn't be posting that because you want esports to grow, right? And, of course, I kind of raise my eyebrow. I turn around and it's Grubby's wife. And I'm thinking to myself, I understand that you have an agenda and all, but I definitely have rights to critique as well for what needs to improve on this event in the future. So I was kind of a little taken aback by that. It was very odd to me, especially considering that she was there as media, and yet I never saw her leave Grubby's side one time.
Wait, are you telling me Mrs. Grubby didn't do her job correctly?
Well, just to be clear, you're talking about Cassandra, right?
That'd be the case.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Well, I'm sure you're going to get a nasty comment from somebody from EG because of that comment. They're going to be like, oh, how dare you pick on Cassandra. Should probably write something negative about you in her blog.
I don't know. It seemed rather funny to me because she was talking down to me. It almost seemed like she was like, well, you're obviously a nobody, so let me tell you how esports should be. I don't know.
Yeah.
That just...
Yeah. You want to compare? we'll talk about that. But yeah, again, that's what happens when people believe that they're right. I think one thing, I've heard this echoed from a lot of people who I respect that actually do, hold positions of authority inside competitive gaming. We really do a good job, I think, in the podcast in VV Gaming of being very critical, of fostering a critical environment as long as it's constructive, and we've always tried our best to be constructive. But when you, when you want to call an event the way you see it, when you want to talk about it, and somebody comes down with some kind of blanket statement like, you want to see esports grow now, that kind of thing, if anything, it more or less represents a sort of ignorance, right? Because one, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody in America gives a shit about IeSF. I'm just going to call it the way I see it. Two, I doubt any Koreans are reading your update, to be fair there too. That's one of those kind of what I call unnecessary comments because it's very passive aggressive. And although funny, to be honest, Jason, I would just blow it off. If I were there, it would have been a whole different story. But I doubt she would have said that to me. I'm known for my diplomatic ambassador-like skills. No? You don't think so?
I think you're known to smack that ass. That's all I gotta say.
I decided to take the diplomatic approach, and I just kind of, shrugged it off and was like, oh, yeah, I suppose you're right, and closed my laptop, and when she wasn't looking, finished what I was doing before. But, it's just... things like that kind of irk me a little bit, and especially if you don't know who someone is and you just kind of throw a comment out like that, that's kind of unnecessary, you know what I mean? But to be completely fair, on a perfectly constructive note for IeSF, one thing I really think they need to work on is organization and communicating their players better. Maybe something like a packet with all the information in it at the beginning of the event. Things like the meal tickets they were trying to hand out. Instead of running around trying to hand it to every player at every single event, why not have them all printed out in advance? That way you don't have to worry about that. Just little things like that here and there would have made such an improvement on the event. Also, title selection. A lot of people said to me at the event, well, gosh, I wish they would have had Starcraft. I'm actually glad they avoided StarCraft 2 this year, because I wouldn't want them competing with GSL or things that had bigger prize pools. I think they made a perfectly good decision going with Warcraft 3 this year, since Warcraft 3 is headed out the door anyways. Good title to get started on. For the future, they need to work on titles that are going to be good worldwide, though. And I think that is going to be a deciding factor on if they will survive. We'll see if I'm correct, but do I think they have potential? Completely. They just need to work out the small bugs.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with, I mean, if you're going to break into the marketplace, you definitely don't want to go after the, biggest and best games. You always want to start on the peripheral and work your way in. We did it in VV Gaming. We didn't come in and right away pick up or try to pick up a top Halo team or something like that. I mean, we started with Gears of War. You start on the peripheral, you start on the outside. We eventually work our way in. I mean, the same thing with the PC side of the house. We're going to go 1.6 or pick up StarCraft players, or even, aggressively try to go after the top StarCraft 2 players. The industry in America isn't there yet. I mean, I respect what EG does. I mean, again, in no way do I think what Cassandra says, necessarily reflects all of EG, but I do think you're fair in calling her out for being condescending. And who knows, maybe after she hears this, if she even does, I don't know if she's a listener or someone will point it out to her and, say, they talk shit about you or something, and we'll see how she responds. It'll be her choice. But, I mean, I think at the end of the day, if IeSF is going to survive, it definitely needs to start at the peripheral and work its way in. In response to Cassandra, who said that to you, and I'm going to be very honest, you don't get esports to grow, you don't get competitive gaming to grow if you just gloss over the things that are wrong. If you're going to evangelize something, you need to at least appear as unbiased as possible. Connection is important. I need to not only be able to connect with people who, like ourselves, are really passionate about competitive gaming, but I also need to connect with people who are somewhat passionate about competitive gaming. And if I'm going to connect with them, I have to not only connect with the good, I also have to connect with the bad. I've said many times, Major League Gaming needs more seating. That gives me great opportunities to start dialogue with parents, to see players who are come up to me like they did at MLG DC and you're right, I really do wish there were seats here. Or those who saw an improvement from MLG Rally to MLG DC and say, we got a couple more benches, let's hope there's more on the way. All of those things are good. So if Cassandra meant to you that in some ways you have to be silent, then I would disagree with her. Knowing you, I think she just didn't know you, and she spoke probably too soon.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for tuning in to BBB's The Losers Bracket. Thank you to BBB's sponsors, SteelSeries, Control Freak, MusicSkins.com, GamerLogos.net, and Custom Ink. Thank everyone in the BBB community for their feedback and support. We always look forward to hearing more from you. Be sure to stop by our podcast homepage at bbbgaming.podbean.com. Also, subscribe to BBB Gaming on iTunes to follow both of our shows, Directional Influence and The Losers Bracket. Email us at thelosersbracket@bbb-gaming.com or follow us on Twitter where we are known as Losers Bracket.
All right, everybody. Thank you for listening to the show.
Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.